And a very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101. David Hinds here with you on a Tuesday evening. And what a day today has been. What a day today has been. I want to welcome everyone down to Politics 101 tonight. We have a lot to talk about tonight. Of course, everybody has been following the events of today, the protests from Golden Grove along the East Coast, and what transpired. Um, uh, I just want to welcome everyone down. You're joining us from Guyana. You're joining us from the wider Caribbean. You're joining us from the United States of America, Canada, anywhere in North America, in Europe, in England. Please, tonight is a big show. It's a big show because today was a big day. Today, the people of Golden Grove took their protest to another level, And we want to talk about what happened today. It was an eventful day, and I want everyone to come down tonight. We want a full house, more than a full house tonight. So please share the link, Politics 101 tonight. As you know, that protest started early this morning at Golden Grove. The people of Golden Grove have been out since Quindon Bacchus was killed, and they have been out every day. And they buried young Bacchus on Sunday. And they got word today that something is up. Something is up with the alleged killer. They weren't certain what was going on. In all of these 2 weeks and 2 days, 3 days, 2 weeks and 3 days, nobody from the government went there to talk to them. They've been out every day calling for justice. The government didn't go to speak with them. The top brass of the police force didn't go. The Minister of Home Affairs didn't go. They were out there crying for justice. Nobody went and put their arms around them. Nobody went and explained to them what was happening at the legal level. Nobody went out there to mourn with them. And when I say nobody, I mean from the government side. Nobody from the police. And so they were out there not knowing what is going on. And the word began to spread over the weekend that the alleged shooter was going to be let go. We understand that the lawyers went to court and they asked the court for the government, the police, to produce the body of the alleged shooter, habeas corpus, which means that after 72 hours, the police aside to let you go implement the charge or ask for an extension. But nobody knew what was happening. And the people of Golden Grove today began to take action. They began to march from Golden Grove, and they began to do what protesters and frustrated people always do. They wanted answers. And so the situation moved, and the marchers got as far as Monrepo on the East Coast. They got as far as Monrepo on the East Coast. And I'm going to break down what happened. What's the significance of what happened today? We have a big cast, but we're going to start with Mr. Paul Slow tonight. Mr. Paul Slow, as you know, is a former top police officer, chairman of the Police Service Commission. He has been very much in the news, a household name now. And he's going to start us off, and later on, We have Lincoln Lewis and Maureen Philadelphia and Rickford Burke and Takuma Ogunse. And we expect the opposition leader to drop in for a couple of minutes to give us the political aspect of it. But we are going to start with Mr. Paul Slow. This show tonight, my God, we are half full already within the first couple of minutes. Share the link, because we want a full house tonight. People on the ground. I just came from Golden Grove. About 10 minutes ago, I came in here. I just came from Golden Grove. Myself and Akidaki Amsterdam, we went there to examine what's happening on the ground. There is a large battalion of police there. There are members of the Guyana Defense Force. There, we saw the ambulances there, and they're standing on one side of the road, on the eastern side, on the western side, and on the eastern side, the people of Golden Grove are standing there. And they're saying they're not going to be moved. They have things across the road. And so the standoff between the police and the people is going on right now. Right now. We understand earlier that the father of Quindon Bacchus was shot, pellets in his legs, and somebody else was shot. We didn't have a chance to visit with them because we had to rush back to Buxton to do the show. But that's what's happening on the ground right now in Golden Grove. Also in Buxton, I happened to pass at the same time that the president was visiting Buxton, and the people were peppering him. He, as usual, was talking a lot of nonsense. As I was passing, I didn't know he was in the village. And, you know, I was saying to the people, you all have esteemed visitor, you heard my voice, and I asked, who is that comic, according to him, or clown or something. I didn't get a chance to answer him there and then, but I will answer him in due course. But the people there in Buxton, where they lose some tear gas on the people there in Buxton, they were standing around and there was a standoff and they fired tear gas at the people in Buxton. I understand that 2 youngsters were arrested in Buxton. So that's the situation. We have Buxton, we have Golden Grove. Golden Grove, of course, is ground zero. Golden Grove, Nabaklis, Haslington. And then, of course, the march got as far as Monrepos Market. The police was standing there along with the army, I understand, waiting at the BV police station. And the people stopped at the market. Now these marchers were marching all morning, passing through Indian villages, no incident, passing through all the villages, black villages, no incident. And then they got to Monrepos and they were standing around there. And all of a sudden, hell broke loose. I was reliably informed that there were agents around who began to attack people's stall there in Monrepos, and some stalls were burnt and so on. And they're trying to pin it on the marchers. They're trying to pin it on the marchers. President Ali was in Buxton, and he spent more time talking about justice for the stalls that were burnt than justice for the young Bacchus. Within hours, the president was at Monrepos. This is a president who didn't visit Golden Grove, who didn't visit the family, but in an hour or two after the standoff there, the confusion at Monrepos, we don't know exactly what we do know, and I'm hearing this from people in Monrepos, Indian Guyanese people from that village, who are telling us that there were agents there in the crowd who began to attack people's stalls. We're going to get more of that as we go on. But please share the link. We are 92% full. So we have 8% seats available, but we are going to bring in more seats tonight because we want a full out. Let me bring in Mr. Paul Slow for you, our first guest. So,
good night, doctor.
Good evening,
Dr.
good
Hinds.
night. I was on with
And
you this morning, live as the march was going on, and welcome to Politics 101 for the first time. And help us to put this thing in perspective. Let's start first with this news that has been circulating that the alleged shooter was under house arrest and then he's under open arrest, and people are wondering whether he is locked up. Help us to put in perspective what really is going on with the alleged shooter.
Thank you for the invite, Dr. Hinds. Good evening, good night to your viewers. Good evening to all the listeners. First of all, let me say that, we spoke this morning, and at the time when we were speaking, there was a march going on, but there was not the level of chaos that later ensued. Having looked at social media, I was trying to follow it live, the march live, and I was able to see what transpired at Monrepo Market. So I want to start by condemning the violence that was seen. As was said repeatedly, we all have a constitutional right to peaceful protest, but once it degenerates into chaos, people being robbed, people being beaten, stalls and a bus, I think, being set on fire, that cannot be condoned, should not be condoned. So I want to start by condemning those persons who are involved in that type of behavior. And as you rightly said, this protest was going on. Protest, not probably didn't reach to this level, but protest was going on since the evening that young Quindon Bacchus was shot and killed. And to see it degenerate into what it was today is really sad. It's really disturbing. Now, this whole thing, I understand, stemmed from the fact that word circulated that the alleged shooter, policeman Dinabriga, was released by the court yesterday. That was the rumor that was circulated, released under open arrest. Now, a few hours ago, I wrote a letter which I sent to the local media houses and I put on my Facebook page addressing the issue of open arrest and close arrest. First of all, let me say this quite clearly and as emphatically as I can. There is no provision under law for policemen who is being investigated for a criminal offense, such as the one that we are referring to, the homicide committed on Quindon Bacchus. There is no provision under any law in Guyana for such a rank to be placed under close arrest. Close arrest refers to a disciplinary process, and it is highlighted, it is spelled out in the Police Discipline Act, Chapter 1701, specifically Section 10.1 of that act. And 4 offenses are highlighted, are named when a person can be placed under close arrest. And let me read those 4 offenses to you, to the viewers, because I've always said, if you look at the background, it has there speaking out, exposing corruption and incompetence. And I want to use, I've been using my forum to teach, to transmit information. And it says, a member of the force may be placed under close arrest if he is under the influence of intoxicating liquor to such an extent as to be incapable of performing his duty. That's A. B, if he commits an insubordinate act or uses any insubordinate or disrespectful language to the authority over him. C, if he willfully disobeys a lawful order of his superior. And finally, D, if he strikes or attempts to strike a member of the force superior in rank to himself. Those are the 4 offenses for which a rank of the force of police can be placed under close arrest. And I made the point that this term close arrest and open arrest has been misused and abused over the years, and it has led to lots of controversy. It has led to a lot of misunderstanding. I go on in the letter, and I encourage you to people to read the letter. If a rank in the force is being investigated for any criminal offense and he's arrested, that is not close arrest. There's no provision for him to be under close arrest. He should be arrested in the usual manner, and the regular process for a person being arrested should flow. And I was disturbed when I heard yesterday that well, there was a habeas corpus file, I understand, on Friday, and the court ordered that the body of the policeman Denabriga, Christophe Denabriga, I think his name is, be produced yesterday afternoon at 2:30. I have a fairly good understanding of the system, and the fact that he was in custody as a claim close arrest, couldn't be in close arrest, he was arrested for that period of time. I had no doubt that he would have been released. So when the word spread that he was put under open arrest, it caused a lot of confusion, and no one sought to explain what it meant. I saw much later today and even yesterday, people were trying to explain, well, he's not released, he's under open arrest. And open arrest allows you, let me read what open arrest is for people, close arrest and open arrest, because I know people will listen and to try to find fault. Let me read what close arrest and open arrest was. Now, first, close arrest. And this is what the law says, not me saying this. I'm just repeating what the law says. And again, I direct you to section 10.1 of the Police Discipline Act, chapter 1701. An arrest is dealt with, close arrest is dealt with under 3B of that piece of legislation. It's a close arrest. In the case of a member of the force of or above the rank of inspector, he shall be confined to his quarters under guard. And in the case of any other member of the force below the rank of inspector, to some suitable place in the police premises other than the prisoner's cell under guard. That is close arrest. For one of the offenses I pointed out earlier. On open arrest, if a person, and generally what happens, a person is placed under close arrest, if the 72 hours pass and he's not charged for a disciplinary offense, then he's placed under open arrest. And open arrest means, according to the law, when a member of the force is placed under open arrest, he shall be deprived of all privileges and leave until the case is disposed of, and he shall attend all parades and do duty as is required. Now, the only privilege that he is deprived of that I can think of is off duty. So basically, he's put under open arrest. He can't get rest period or off duty. He can be made to work, and generally, depending on the length of time, the rank is made to move, because there's nothing saying in the legislation. Some people are trying to point out that, well, he's kept into some under some confinement. Generally, and people have been placed under open arrest, I know, for weeks and months. And so therefore, according to the law, the privilege, and the only privilege I say I can think of is the privilege of the person getting off duty. That is, he is deprived of that privilege, and he can be made to work, and he can be made to, generally he is monitored during that period. So that is what open arrest and that is what close arrest, those things are.
Mr. Slow, you listed 4 offenses there. This alleged the young man who's alleged to have killed Quindon Backers, he's alleged to have committed homicide.
Well, it's an homicide investigation. It's an homicide investigation. It's a criminal investigation, and there's no provision in law for him to be under close arrest.
Yes.
And I said before, this is a misused term and concept. But the law, if you read the law, it doesn't provide for a rank who's been investigated for any criminal offense to be under close arrest or open arrest.
There you go. Welcome to Politics 101. If you're just joining us, you all are out in your numbers tonight. Our seats are full, and you're over by what? 40%, 45%. We're going to bring chairs in double the audience tonight. Tonight is a big night. Today was a big day. Today was a day that the people of Bolingbroke struck an important blow for justice. Very important blow for justice. Let's start there. And we watched that march, Mr. Snow and I. We watched it, the march pass through and more, pass through Enterprise, pass through Lusickland, Stratford, all those Indian areas. And Mr. Snow said this morning that what eventually happened would be determined whether by how the police, what he called the saner heads in the police force reacted. Mr. Snow, we saw that by the time they got to the past vigilance police station, and as they were approaching BV police station on their way, as we understand it, the police and I think army ranks were there decided that they were going to stop them from going. Good tactic, bad policing tactic. What? Tell us. You've been in this thing.
Terrible. Not terrible tactics, very terrible tactics. Now, as I've indicated before, this is something that has been going on for quite some time. It's not something just, the protest did not start today, even though the march may have started today.
Yes.
This is something that's been going on, and it was preceded by the fact that this rumor that the man was released. I would have expected that some intelligent assessment would have been done by the people in the position. And from the time the people start to say they're going to march, it was obvious. No one knows where the march would have terminated, but it was obvious to any onlooker, any casual onlooker, that they were proceeding east, and therefore the real possibility was that they are going to head towards the city. I think from the outset, people felt that that is what was going to happen. Now, when I look at the posture, and this is a word the people who sits in this seat like to use, when I look on the posture of the police, I was amazed, because if you look from Golden Grove, where the march started, to Georgetown, and you want to make a careful assessment, you would have tried to assess the vulnerable areas along the way. And one will no doubt assess that a place like the Lusickland Market, place like the Monrepo Market, where people were there and those places were close to the roadside, were likely to be vulnerable to any type of unrest. That should have been the assessment. Now, if you want to stop the crowd from going to town, I would have thought that you would have tried to do so before they got to the vulnerable point. But to come out at BV police station and stand across the road, knowing full well that the people, if they're coming down, they're going to pass Monrepo Market, is bad management of the whole situation, but it's incompetence. It is incompetence. Why you're going to come out at BV police station and you're going to stop the crowd right at the marketplace where all those vendors are, all those people are? Madness. If you want to stop, I would have thought that place like Good Hope by the cemetery or somewhere there before they get to the market would have been the ideal place to stop, because and there's a lot of tactics involved there too, which I'm not going to discuss on this program. But I would have thought, looking at the whole situation, that would have been the ideal place by the cemetery to try and stop. And then once the mayhem started, there was no action really. Where was the fire service? Where was this people to deal with it? I saw people in the area forming bucket brigade to put out, and there was nothing there, any type of violence that will prevent the fire service from going there and putting out those fires. So I see it as gross incompetence by those persons who were involved. And I made the point this morning. I made the point because if I should just mention this as well, we saw when the protesters passed Vigilance Police Station, a contingent of army personnel were standing by the roadside. They were standing by the roadside. What was their mission? Just to go there and to stand by the roadside? I made the point that there was no need for the army to be involved in such operation. I don't think the law permits them to be involved in such an operation. But you get this type of thing because I am almost certain that the political hands were in play. They would have instructed, go there and do, and you don't have the competence to advise, well, look, the situation does not call for that. Or if you're going to take action, to make sure that the most prudent action is taken. I don't think the formation of the ranks across the road at BV was the most advised and prudent action this morning.
Yeah, Mr. So under what conditions, or under what conditions do you call on the soldiers, the army, to come on the road in a situation like we are there today? Is
Well,
yeah.
let me say this. Under normal circumstances, there's a, and I'm sure we can all relate to this. If there is sometime what is felt to be an upsurge in crime, army comes with the police to patrol. They come and you have a joint patrol. And let me emphasize that it's a joint patrol. The police are in charge and the army personnel are there to assist the police in a joint patrol under normal or semi-normal circumstances. We're talking about ordinary crime. Now, when you come to public order issues, as we had this morning, the army has no role unless the police are overwhelmed, and there's a process to call the army to the assistance, the commissioner to the chief of staff, and this is formal process, a formal process for the army to come. And that is when the police have exhausted their resources, and the letter will say that we have exhausted our resources, and therefore we are calling on you to assist in this thing. But to see the army come out there and just standing around, it's bad. It's bad. It is not the best practice. And I would ask for them, I would think that they should rethink. Because when you have the army, remember the army basically is your last resort. The army is the last resort in a situation, any chaotic, violent situation, the army is the last resort. And if you call out the army there and they're standing around, it gives the bad impression, and therefore they can be deemed to be ineffective. And you don't want that.
As I mentioned, Mr. Slow, I just got back from Golden Grove. I wanted to go there to see what's happening. And as I described, the people are on the streets. The police and the army are on the eastern side of the public road, the western side. The people are on the eastern side. There are barricades on the road. And they're there. Many people think that they're waiting for nightfall for the police to move. We saw that situation in Linden in 2012 when there was the same kind of situation. I was in Linden that evening, and as I said, I just came from Golden Grove. Is it advisable for the police to take that kind of approach?
Well, it's not, because if you refer to Linden, if you recall in Linden, when the police acted, 3 persons died. 3 persons died. So we're hoping that we don't get to the situation where lives are lost, because I think that might be just serve to escalate the situation. We don't want that. We want, as I've said before, the saner heads to prevail. I really don't know what the answer is at this time. I believe that there were some missed opportunities, lack of communication. You know, the police have a corporate communication unit, and I would normally refer to them as a propaganda unit. They make all sorts of long-winded, unnecessary statements. And it is to be noted that following this shooting, they came out with 2 statements. They conflicted, one conflicted the other. And since then, there have not been any update. And let's reflect. We like to look at North America, America in particular. When you have incidents in North America, one of the primary things, and that is my training at Police Staff College and other places, that when you have incidents of this nature, you need to keep the public informed of the progress of your investigation, your progress of things of what is going on. You need to keep, if not almost every day initially, you'll need to come and say, well, this is what is going on. We're investigating. so many statements have been taken. You don't have to give the details, but just to assure people or just to reassure people that proper action is being taken. And that will tend to calm a lot of people. But when people are there and they're not fed information, all sorts of rumors start to circulate along the place. And that is why the situation got, I believe, it is my view, that is why it got to where it got to today. Because if people were informed and kept abreast, the habeas corpus, for example, someone should have explained, well, look, this thing is filed and this is what we are compelled by law to do. And keep the public informed. So even when, as I've said before, there's no provision under law for close arrest or open arrest in such a case. But even when you're going to tell them about close arrest and open arrest, you need to explain what it means. Need to explain. But then they come in after, oh, the man is not released, the man is under open arrest and he's confirmed. This should have been done before. These things should be done before. You can't wait at the end, because remember, the credibility of the man who sits in the chair and the corporate community is under question. People don't believe what they say. People use fancy words to say most of them are mendacious. I say, I'm a countryman. I said it is lie. I ain't going into no fancy word. It is lie. And therefore, it's a credibility issue. So even when they come out, because you would recall, immediately following this incident, the man who sits in the chair of the commissioner of police went to the residence and he spoke to the vigilance there and reassured them. One thing he said wrong, in my view, is that the police were not going to be investigating this matter. The matter is going to be investigated by the complaints authority. Well, I have to point out the complaints authority has no legal authority to investigate. The law says that the police complaints authority supervises an investigation like that. And I made the point that I was concerned because the police complaints authority, in supervising the investigation, they will examine statements that were taken to see that they were properly taken. They might even direct that other witnesses, for example, a man might in the statement say, well, David Hinds was wrong. And then they would see that there was no statement from David Hinds. So they can direct them, well, go and get a statement from David Hinds. Let's hear what David Hinds has to say. So that's in level of supervision. But when you talk about investigation, an investigation is not only collecting statements. An investigation will involve canvassing in this particular matter. It will involve canvassing the area for CCTV and other footage, interviewing persons in the area to discover whether they saw or heard anything that can be used as evidence. And perhaps even more importantly, the most important in my mind, is to gather forensic evidence. Shots were fired. There's no doubt about that. And if shots are fired and they say semi-automatic pistol, empty casings are going to be at the scene. The police release said that the deceased Bacchus fired at the police. So therefore, one would expect they would have, in a proper investigation, they would have tried to get empty casing because it describes some semi-automatic pistol. And people who know me know guns is part of the thing. So if a semi-automatic pistol fires, the casing is going to be ejected and it's going to remain in the area. So one would have expected the scene to be properly cordoned to try to recover all that type of scientific evidence. If they are alleging that the deceased fired, then one would have expected too that they would have swabbed him, his hands and his clothing to find gunpowder residue. Because when you fire a firearm, the residue is likely, will be on your hand, will be on your clothing. So the police complaints authority is not going to do, they're not equipped to do that type of investigation. That is where the police forensic people are supposed to investigate. So it was very disappointed, even though I was not surprised to hear the man who sits in the chair say, well, look, they are not doing an investigation. The police complaints authority will take over this investigation. I am of the view that that was just said to appease the people who are there, and if not, just to downright lie to those persons.
Just to downright lie. The president said today in Buxton that he spoke to the commissioner this morning, and the commissioner assured him that the police complaints authority will be finished with their investigation by next Monday. You go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
Doc,
ahead, Mr.
how would you
Slow.
know that?
That's the question I was
that
going to ask
best
you.
be answered by the Police Complaints Authority. If they are supervising the investigation, the Police Complaints Authority is the one who will determine whether it has reached the stage to be sent for legal advice. And it goes to when he's finished with it, that's the Police Complaints Authority. And let me make this point. There's no chairman of the Police Complaints Authority, as I've heard people saying, including the president. The police, the law, Chapter 1702, which makes provision for the Police Complaints Authority, speaks about the authority. Doesn't make provision for any chairman. Again, another misused word, the chairman. But when the authority has perused that file and is satisfied that the investigation is to a stage where it can be sent for legal advice, he will then send it to the DPP with his recommendations. And again, we say it's a criminal matter. And as we have seen in recent times, the DPP has the final say in terms of charges in all criminal matters. So once it gets to the DPP and the DPP peruses the file, then the DPP will give directions as to what charge should be implemented.
Mr. Paul Slow, leading things off tonight, giving us the police side of it, the legal side of it, because that's always important. We want to make sure that we have expert information on these shows. We don't play here as they think we do. Expert information. Mr. Slow, I want to thank you so much for coming on and setting the stage tonight. I'm going to be calling on you quite a lot in the coming days as this story develops to help us through these things. Most times we get the police side and then we get the protester side. And often we don't on a program get both perspectives. So I want to thank you for giving us the police perspective. Anything that you badly want to say or you really want to say before you go tonight?
Well, I want to end the way that I close by the way I started by calling on all the persons, including the people who are there protesting, to allow good sense to prevail. And again, I appeal to the discipline service, the members of the discipline service, especially I command. Please do not take any action will cause this situation to get worse. And again, I want to condemn the violent acts that were perpetrated day to day. Peaceful protest has no place for action like this. You know, this morning, Doc, I mentioned the shift in focus. You remember, I said, because I was wary, I was cautious that once something like what happened at Maripo happened, then there's going to be a shift in focus. In other words, the focus is no longer on the death of young Quindon Bacchus. The focus is now on the incident at Mondripo. And that is what you have to guard against. That is what I am going to implore people to make sure that you stay with your peaceful protest and don't get involved. I also said this morning that people should always be on the lookout for urgent provocateurs in matters like this. So I hope they are going to be on the guard and make sure that there's no recurrence of this type of lawless behavior.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Slow. And I'm going to be calling on you, as I said, as the situation develops. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was Mr. Paul Slow giving us the perspective from the police, helping us to understand these things, close arrests, open arrests, etc., etc. I also want to say that what happened at Monrepos, we have not gotten all of the details, but from what we are hearing, it was the kind of behavior by people who infiltrate these things. And we want to say that that is not the kind of protest we want. It was clear, very clear, I can say that with all confidence, very clear to the marchers that this was not a racial issue. This was not an issue of targeting East Indians. They marched through East Indian villages. They marched through Enmore. They marched through Fowles. They marched through Strathspey, Enterprise, they passed Enterprise, Strathspey, Vigilance, Lusignan, Annandale, Good for Wacton. There were no incidents. Indian people were standing at the road corner, nobody was thinking. And when they got there, as we said, the police stupidly, or maybe deliberately decided that they were going to stop the marchers at TV. And the marchers stopped at Monroe Post Market and all hell broke loose. We want to know who were the people that attacked those people's stalls, that burned those people's vehicles. I'm saying, I don't think that the marchers were into that. Because, like I said, they passed through several Indian Guyanese villages. Indian Guyanese were at the road. Nobody engaged in that kind of behavior. So we believe, and like I said, I've been told by some villagers, non-report, that they have evidence that that thing was instigated by some people in the crowd who were planted there. Thank you all. Big show tonight. We have a podcast coming up. Lincoln Lewis, Maureen Philadelphia. They are both here with us already. We're expecting Takumo Gunse. We haven't seen him yet. We're expecting Rickford Burke. And like I said, the opposition leader is, if he gets a few minutes, we'll stop in. But we have Lincoln Lewis, who needs no introduction. Maureen Philadelphia maybe needs some introduction to this audience. She's a member of parliament, and she is responsible for the east coast of the Demerara. So that's our constituency where all of this thing is happening. So let me bring them in. Maureen Philadelphia. Maureen, good evening.
Good evening.
And I see Lincoln Lewis. Lincoln, good evening. I see Rickford Burke is here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I'm the only person
David,
missing is Takumo Gunse.
I can't say tonight is a good night. Tonight is really a bad night.
Yes.
And I want to say to the audience, we have to join hands. Good for a better Guyana.
You know, let me start off this way. Throughout the months leading up, probably even the last year, the government has been behaving as though the people of this country love them. They don't care. They're going to do what they want to do. They bulldoze. And the opposition will not do anything. The Attorney General even said once that he's begging for opposition. Then we have some people on the opposition side who are saying that, oh, the opposition supporters are taking polls and they're not doing anything, and we need boots on the ground and all this thing. And I've been saying to people, you do not direct the struggle from a room or online. Guyanese people are human beings. Opposition supporters are human beings. And there's going to come a time when they will say enough is enough. I visited Golden Grove several times. I was there one night with Maureen. We both spoke to the media. When they had a candlelight village vigil, they were carrying on their peaceful protests. I went back for the funeral and I walked that crowd and I could feel it in my bones. I could feel the frustration, the anger. And what bothered me was nobody from the government side went there to mourn with those people. Nobody from the government side went there and put their arms around those people. Nobody from the top brass of the police went there throughout those 2 weeks to assure those people that the justice that they were calling for would come. And then, like happens all the time, and like happens in this situation, today the people decide that we are going to take this thing to the next level. Are you all surprised? Are you all surprised that it has come to this? And that's a question for you. I'll start with you, Maureen.
Mr. Hinds.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm saying thank you for having me, but I will not say good night. And there are several reasons why I will not say good night. And I'm saying just like what the residents of East Coast is saying, there's an issue, we are crying, and like you rightfully alluded to, Dr. Hinds, the top brass of the Guyana Police Force did not throw their hand around Quindon father, Quindon mother, and to assure them the justice that was needed. At the funeral service on Sunday, again, we haven't seen a representative so as to say to the residents of that area, we are going to give you the justice you're yearning for. And I'm not surprised. I am not surprised. But I've said then, and I will say it again, Quindon Bacchus's murder should not be like Orrin Boston, the Henry boys, and the others. I would have also said to the residents of this area, while you're out there today, lending support and standing in solidarity with the relative of Quindon Bacchus, we need to stand with them until justice is served. We need to stand with the family until justice is served. And I would have also said, I taught Quindon in school. Today, it could have been me mourning for my only boy child. I feel the pain of Quindon's parent. And as the representative of the East Coast, I am here to say to Quindon family and all those persons who are in support to ensure that justice is served. We are here with them. We are here in support of them. We would have understood, like you rightly alluded to, that things get out of hand. Things get out of hand, and you would have made your statement. And we do apologize for what happened. We do apologize for what happened. And I say also that in the pursuit of equality and liberty, tempers flare, emotions run high, and things do step in the way. While that is no excuse for what happened, while that is no excuse for what got out of hand, had the family of Mr. Bacchus been spoken to by those persons they're yearning to hear from, they would not have had to take to the street this morning. They would not have had to take to the street this morning. And then to know that you bury your loved one, a scandal went out because of an element of the Guyana Police Force who should be there to serve and protect. And then somebody said to you that he has been freed. It's normal. It will trigger reaction. It will trigger reaction.
It will trigger reaction.
Will trigger reaction. And that is exactly what happened today.
What happened today? Lincoln Lewis, let me bring you in here. You started off by saying it's not a good night. Are you surprised that things have taken this turn, that the people of Golden Grove, Nabaklis, and Haslington have decided that they are going to take this step today?
No, I am not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. Over the years, what has happened, this is an administration that believes that they can kill people. And when people are buried, when you bury your dead, the story done. The people of Golden Grove, Aslington, Nabaklis area, those people have not buried their anger with their dead. The anger is still there. In the case of, or in Boston, to a large extent, the anger was buried with the dead. The Henry Boys, the anger was buried with the dead. This anger was not buried with the dead. And we need to understand that what has happened, what is happening now, is as a result of not merely an incompetent police force, but it's a what we call, it's a policy of the government. It's a political policy that this is the way we are going to treat some section of the society. And the state resources are being used to not to demonize, but to destroy anybody who, or any group that stands against what they do. I want to tell you this, that I condemn, I don't subscribe, in fact, I don't subscribe to violence in any form. In this case here, there are three types of violence I've seen. I've seen the physical violence, the emotional violence, and the psychological violence. I'm seeing it. We are seeing it every day, even today. We have seen it. Check it out. I look at what transpired today when the people when the marchers, the people, the protesters, when the people who are forced to go into Monrepo. I am saying that they were forced because only a dumb man or a dumb leader, right, who can make that decision that they are going to cordon off, stop people at BV, outside of BV, and in the immediate environment, it is the Monrepo market. What do you expect to happen? It's only dumb people think that way. Basically, as a little boy growing up, I learned one thing. If you get a cat in the house and eating your food or your fish, and you're going to beat the cat, you got to open a window, because when you give it a couple lash, the cat going to attack you. What happened today is that they cordon off everywhere outside of a market, and they force the people to run in there. They had their reason. You know why they had their reason? Because they knew that there were elements in there who would have done what was done there. And they will have an opportunity to demonize the community. These guys planned this thing in that way. Don't let you understand very clearly that it was a program of the political. Immediately after that happened, the president was out at Monrepo, and he's saying to people, we are going to compensate you. For 2 to 3 weeks, the people protesting outside the town at Golden Grove, Nabaklis area, the president find no time to go to address the thing. This is the one Guyana that this man is talking about. One set of people is going to look after. It's unfortunate that people lost things there. It's unfortunate. These are things that should not happen. But the president has to take total responsibility for what has happened here. I look at him today at Buxton. Let me just make this point, David. I look at this man today at Buxton. You know the man there? That man escalating your demeanor, everything that he's saying, right? Is attacking people. He didn't come to help to heal a situation. This is a man who called himself a father who was a son. And listen to him, how he's talking to people. He failed to understand that those are people's wives and people's husband, if he talk to his son like that, then I will recommend that he got to parenting class. This man, something is wrong with him. Right?
Yeah.
We have to understand the problem that we face today. It must be put fairly and squarely on finally.
Lincoln, we just got word that the police is using tear gas. They're using tear gas and they're shooting pellets at the people in Golden Grove. I just wanted to pass on that information. Richard Burke, are you surprised at the way things have turned out?
Let me just tell you this, David.
Hold on, Lincoln.
It's the same. No, I'm not surprised. It's the same thing they're doing, Lincoln. You know what they're doing? Yes. You know what happening here, David? Is that they kill a member of the community. And when you're protesting and asking for justice, what has happened now is that the police now has turned their guns on the community because you asked for justice. Yeah. You shouldn't ask for it.
Richard Burke?
They kill a man. They killed a man. The community is asking for justice. And what they did is to turn guns on them. That is how they behave.
Let's get Richard in.
People.
Let's get Richard in. Richard, come in.
Thanks for having me. Well, I'm not surprised that this escalated today. I think the government themselves instigated this escalation so that we could have the results that we have in Monrepo. You know, I listened to our finale in Monrepo today, and I listened to his broadcast today. He only found his voice when there was unrest. He doesn't care a damn about the murder of Quindon Bacchus. He is a racist. He's only concerned about those people in Monrepo who you sent out there to compensate. He didn't even offer any assistance to the Bacchus family, but he wants to compensate the East Indians in Monrepo market. And I'm not afraid to say it. What we have here in Guyana is, I was just telling somebody from Grenada, is the most violently oppressive, anti-Black racist government in the hemisphere. And, you know, I have been saying all the time that the oppressive racist policies of the PUP would lead to civil war in Guyana. They don't care because they've equipped, you know, the police force to shoot and kill the Black people. They have a coordinated security plan, which I'm aware of, where all of the people in Georgetown, East Indian supporters of the PPP, who have security firms, will coordinate with the police to put down any sort of unrest that Black people might stage in Guyana. That's a fact. They're loaded with weapons. They're giving East Indians dealership license to bring in more weapons. They're preparing for a civil war with the Black population. But I want to congratulate. I am not apologizing for anything. I don't care what happened in Monrepo. They don't give a damn about Black people, and I don't care what happened. What I want to see is justice. And if we want to avoid what happened in Monrepo today and the protests on the streets, solve the problem. Solve the problem. Let us have justice. Arrest Christophe de Notbrugge. I saw him live on Facebook watching the protests. He is not under arrest. He's under a procedure called close arrest, which is you're restricted from leaving the location where you held that. He can be, I heard that he's playing pool, he's on Facebook, he has his computers, his girlfriend or family visit. He is in no way under arrest. And I want to say this as well. I heard the president talk about William Ramlal investigating this matter. William Ramlal is the chairman of the Police Complaints Authority. The Police Complaints Authority has no jurisdiction to investigate murders in Guyana. Murders should be investigated by the the homicide division of the CID and the DPP. They're empowered to investigate murders. And when somebody commits a murder, they're not placed under close arrest. They're placed, I see a minister of the government texting me, listen, it's all well and good for ministers to say that we can say whatever and accuse us of whatever. I don't care. Solve the problem, arrest the man for murder, assure the parents and the villagers, his school teacher, the member of parliament for these coasts, that there'll be murder. These people don't know how to govern. They haven't called in representatives of the area to say anything. They haven't sent the police to meet with anybody. That's why we have this kind of response. They're contemptuous of the Black population in Guyana. And today we call for people all over the country, all over Guyana. Guys, I'm getting the message. I'm getting tons of messages. All over Guyana to come out and protest. I'm going to say stretch the police resources thin. Let them call out the army. Protesting Barbies, protesting Essequibo, East Coast, West Bank, Georgetown, everywhere. If the police think that they're more powerful than the people of Guyana must come out and protest. Come out and protest. Show the police that they're not more powerful than the people. Show the People's Progressive Party government that they, and that minister that's texting me, go out and talk to the people. Go out and talk to the people. Don't talk to me. You're a black man. Go out and talk to the people. That's what I want to see.
So what is the minister texting you to tell you, Mr. Burke? Is it a secret?
The minister wants me to tell the people there must be peaceful protests or whatever. The government is perpetrating violence against the people of Guyana. The government is perpetrating violence against the people, and the people must defend themselves. That's my response to the minister. I mean, I don't want to, betray confidentiality or whatever it is, but I'm upset. I'm upset about this matter, and I'm upset about the police shooting at people. And I'm tempted to say the people must protect themselves from the police.
Maureen Philadelphia, let me bring you in. You are
No, it's not leadership. The president is not providing any leadership to anybody. Right. So nobody don't say to me that Orphan Ali going to Buxton to disrespect black people, calling black leaders clowns. That is. Oh, let me say one thing. I heard Orphan, and I'll shut up. I heard Orphan Ali today announce that somebody threatened him. Death threats. Leaders around the world get death threats. We don't give a damn who threatened him. Right now, he has a death threat against me on his page. I wrote him and tell him he's promoting it. He's refused to, and he read the letter. He refused to remove it because he wants to promote the death threat against me. Right now, on the Guyana Police Force, there's a death threat, a distinct death threat that caused the FBI to visit my house by someone in Guyana on the Guyana Police Force page, and they refuse to remove it because they want Rickford Burke to be killed. So Orphan Ali and his death threat could go to hell. We Guyanese, at least me, I don't give a damn who threatened him because they put their people to threaten me too. So let them go to hell.
Maureen, we've gotten information the police is shooting pellets and tear gas at the people there. Is that a wise thing to do from your perspective?
I am thinking how to respond.
I feel you.
Your question asked me for a yes or a no.
Not and elaborate after the yes or no.
And so I am saying the police should be trained as to develop relationship with the members of the community, not to drive fear into the citizen. I remember the days that the former President Granger referred to as the Troubles, when policemen and women were afraid to wear their uniform because of what they would have created with the citizens. I have a sneaky suspicion that those days are slowly creeping back. And I said to you, police need to find strategies of dealing with the citizens other than shooting them with tear gas and or pellets. And I said before, it's a reaction. The persons are calling for justice. The president visited Enmore on the 16th of June when it was Enmore Martyrs. One would have thought, being so close to that village, he would have summoned a meeting with the family, but he didn't. But today, like we saw, the president and his team rush to Monrepo to say to the citizens there, we are going to compensate you. Who will compensate the mother and father of Quindon Bacchus? Who will compensate them? And that is all the people calling for. That is all they're asking for. And the persons that should tell them what they need to hear. They're causing more confusion in the country. And again, I say tear gas and pellets should not be used. Tear gas and, you know what? I remember in the month of March 2020, in the community of Bath, the police, they were running for their life when the citizens of there held them with missiles and all you can think about. They didn't shoot tear gas and pellets at them.
Because they were Indians.
But we fought in one Guyana, and it was said then that they were asking for justice, and they were right. Now, only one section of the people in this country has rights as a citizen. And what has been worrying the persons in the police force that they use to carry out these acts look just like us. They're not using them to go to Bath and Lusignan to fire pellets and tear gas and so, you know, but they're using them to come to communities like ours. They're using them to come to communities like ours. And we're touting one Guyana, but then we're driving citizens further apart from each other. What is what we're doing? Driving citizens further apart and sowing seed of discord and promoting racial violence and tension. That is what we're doing.
Lincoln Lewis, you ended your first presentation by drawing the parallels with what happened at Linden when the police waited until after dark and then pounced on the community. We are seeing this year, is this a deliberate escalation on the part of the police, who obviously are taking political orders from the political bosses?
Very much so. The commissioner, the current man who is acting as commissioner, he was the man who had the command in 2012 in Linden when the people lost their lives, right? Remember that well, David. We were all there that night when that occurred. But let me tell you this. Maureen made a point. You know, post-election, with the violence that took place, there was a lady, a teacher, whose car was damaged. If you remember that well, they lashed up her car and everything. I hope when I see President, I see Orfanali, the president, he talked to them about compensating those people. I am not saying that he ought not to do so, but I hope that he had considered compensation for those people whose properties were damaged during that post-election period. If you remember well, Orfanali was outside of Pegasus when they were turning over Cummins' vehicle.
Correct.
And he did nothing to stop the people. He did nothing. So how the hell he can come now to tell people that what they are doing is breaking the law when he perpetuated the breaking of the law there? These are things that we need to know. We need to talk about. You have, the president has no moral authority to talk about these issues. I'm so disappointed. Measures should have been taken in the first instance to stop this thing from being escalated. Measures you have enough time. Tell me, the police force has what you call a strategic management department or something like that. What the intelligence tell them? What work they do? Oh, Jesus Christ, man, what they did? They did nothing to stop this. This tells you, I do not believe that the men and women inside there are so dumb that they could not have come up with another strategy. But I am convinced about one thing, that they were given political directives to do what is being done right now. The question here, the point, further, let me say to you, the people got to stop burying the dead. And people got to stop asking, people got to stop. Families got to stop this thing here. That when these people come, they shoot people and they come and hand me some money and say they're going to take over the expenses, they're going to bury the dead, they're going to keep wake. What the hell is that? Is that people not focusing on wood or caterpillar equipment that you can buy another one? When people die, they're not coming back. We're not replacing one equipment with another. And we have to tell this government they have to stop it. And what is taking place now, and the stand that the people have taken, I'm in solidarity with them to stand up against a government that committing atrocities in the African community.
Rickford Burke, the president went within a couple of hours to Monrepo. He left there, and I understand he was invited to Boston by one of or a group of people there that are partial to him, but he didn't go to Golden Grove. Why not?
Well, first of all, I'm just getting a message from a member of the police force who says that they have been given instructions to shoot live rounds at people, literally shoot people, not with pellets, to shoot people. My response to that is if they shoot at people, people have a right to defend themselves. If the police is going to start assaulting villages, people have a right to defend themselves against assault by the state. Let me say that very clearly. The Constitution gives Guyanese the right to protect themselves. And let me say this to the Guyana Police Force. And I want to sit up very straight so they can hear my voice very clearly. Because I want to say unapologetically to the Guyana Police Force, you ought to be careful about the instructions you're carrying out, because I have seen in countries where police shoot at the people unjustly, the people will shoot you back. I want to say that. I am not encouraging anybody to do anything. I am making a statement of fact that when police start to unjustly abuse, brutalize, and shoot people, they ought to be very careful, because the people will shoot you back. I've seen it in Dallas. I've seen it all over here. This country was almost torn apart last year or the year before when police killed George Floyd. And the Guyana Police Force ought to be very careful that they escalate this situation beyond what it is now. Now, let me go on to answer your question. Dr. Hinds, the people of Golden Grove are black. The people in Buxton are black. The people on all the other East Coast villages are black. The people in Monrepo, though, are East Indian supporters of the PPP. That's who they are governing for. The PPP is implementing Trumpism in Guyana. They don't care about black people. And what Orphan Ali did today by rushing to Monrepo, it is the starkest demonstration yet of PPP racist governance. He went straight to Monrepo to tell people, hey, we're going to pay back for the things that the people break up. That their own thugs, that they place in the protest to create mischief, destroy the people stuff in the market. That's why I say I'm not apologizing for nothing. I am told that it's thugs from the PPP that went into the market and create havoc, or at least initiated it. That's what I'm told. I'm not there, so I have to go by the credible reports that I have. But Orphan Ali, he's East Indian. He's heading an East Indian ethnocracy that is an apartheid regime that wants to enslave the black population of Guyana. And people know that. And I repeat, the riot you see, the unrest that we see happening in Guyana is not only for Quindon Bacchus, it is because people feel oppressed. People feel that whenever black people are murdered and killed, the PPP rejoiced. They were silent, as Maureen said. They were silent. They couldn't give a damn that the member of parliament was out there calling for justice. They couldn't give a damn that the opposition leader was out there calling for justice. They didn't give a damn that Lincoln Lewis and Dr. Hinds, that you guys are out there calling for justice. They didn't give a damn. It was another black man, another black dog as they see us, another rice eater. Right? They give a damn now because there's unrest that affected Indian people in Monrepo. And we must point that out. We must not be scared. to point out PPP racism. That's why I said earlier, our friend Ali can go fly a kite. I don't care who threatened him. I don't care about what he has to say now. I don't care that he went to Monrepose. I don't care that he went to Buxton. He went to Buxton to show he's a bad man. I heard him saying, they know who they're dealing with yet. But you don't know black people are finale. You don't know black people. We are descendants of the indomitable slaves that conquered racist slave masters. And if possible, we're going to conquer your racist in Guyana. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. And that's what I will express, Dr. Hinds. We can't hear you.
Tonight is one night I'm not holding anybody back. I've said it over and over again. We who have been accused of inciting black people and inciting racism, we have had to hold our supporters back. Maureen can tell you, Lincoln can tell you, we have had to hold those people back. And now they have decided that they are declaring war against the people of this country. As I was leaving Golden Grove this afternoon, I spoke directly to the policemen and soldiers who were there. And I said, if you all shoot tonight, you're all going to be shooting your girlfriends. You're all going to be shooting your wives and your sons and your daughters. And I asked them not to turn their guns on the people. I asked them not to turn their guns on the people. It seems that they have turned their guns tonight on the people. They have turned their guns on the people. And when you turn your guns on the people, I step back. I step back. And you turn your guns on the people, I step back. Kidaki Amsterdam, I'm going to bring you in. You have the latest. Kidaki, you have the latest of what's happening there at Golden Grove. Bring us up to speed.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Hinds, panelists and viewers. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, we are hearing you.
Okay, the information I'm getting is that basically, as they always operate under the corporate darkness, the police under the instructions of WATS are currently attacking the residents of Golden Grove. And I say attacking the residents of Golden Grove and not attacking protesters. Because the protesters are on the road, they were blocking the road. They started firing at them with pellets and tear smoke, and I understand live rounds were used also to get them off of the road, start the process of clearing the road. As those people ran away from the police into the community, the police are now running into the streets of the village. Running into the streets of the village and harming people. Right? So it's not a case of wanting to clear the road anymore. But it's a case of going into Golden Grove and attacking its residents. And this can be allowed or not to be allowed. And I am saying without no fear whatsoever, the residents of Golden Grove have and must take the right to defend themselves in the community. It's your community. Y'all know the streets and the dark alleys. Use them to the best of your advantage.
And Dr. Hinds, I'm not sure, I know Mr. Watts. And when I come off of this show, I'll call Mr. Watts and have him explain to me why he is following instructions by racists in the government to shoot and kill black people. I want Mr. Watts, and I know he's going to call me when he heard that I said this. When he hear I say this, I've said this. I want him to explain to me why he is following Clifford Hickens and racists in the PPP to shoot and kill black people, children in Golden Grove. And he has to remember that he has family members and he has a home. And he must remember that he is a black man at the end of the day. And those people have a right to justice. Nobody is saying that people have a right to go and create havoc and destroy things or whatever it is. But people have a right to justice. And I've been saying all along, the PPP government has been using police officers like Mr. Watts in order to outlaw protests. They have been using people like Mr. Watts to ban protests from Guyana? Who the hell these racists in the PPP think they are, that nobody must not protest against them? When Barrett Jagdeh was opposition leader, he had protests all over. Nobody disturbed him. When Barrett Jagdeh was the opposition leader, he called on, thank you very much. He called on the people to attack, perpetrate violence against the then President Granger. He was arrested. And I have another question for Mr. Watts. Why is Mr. Watts, who's head of special branch, out on the street shooting at protesters? Mr. Watts must tell us what is his remit as head of the intelligence of Guyana to be out in uniform. And by the way, somebody just also sent me a photograph of Mr. Watts, so I could confirm that it is Mr. Watts, a senior superintendent who is the head of special branch in uniform on the road attacking people when he is, and I know he's a personal friend of the president from the time he was at Leonora as commanding officer. And I've had reason to call Mr. Watts already about issues like this. So if Mr. Watts should explain to us, if he has any integrity as a police officer, why he as special branch head out there shooting at people. Maybe he's doing a personal favor of Mr. Ali, his friend, who sent him out there to shoot and kill black people. And he got to remember, he's not going to be in the police force forever. He has to remember he has a house. People know where he lives. And he has a family. They ought to be very, very careful, because people in Guyana are fed up of this kind of injustice. The president took, is it a case where the president took his personal friend, Mr. Watts, and sent him out there and shoot people? The police commissioner must explain, Mr. Watts must explain, and the president must explain why it is that the head of special branch is on the road in Region 4 Division shooting at people.
Where do we go from here?
Let me tell you something. What we need to understand very clearly, that this is the PPP strategy. They have this strategy in place. What they're doing here, what happened today, give them an opportunity to go down, to consolidate their position in the Indian community, to say that black people attacking you people, and we're going to stand up for you. That is what they believe. When they talk of one Guyana, what they mean, we will represent one section of Guyana. Not the whole Guyana, it's one Guyana. And the one Guyana is just what he's doing here today. And we need to understand that. How you move forward, you have to have you have to hold hands. When I say hold hands, the citizens got to hold hands against the atrocities that are committed. It's time we understand that when you attack one group, when you are elected to public office, and you decide to use your privileged position to attack one group, or more so deny the same another group of something that is justly there, fairly for them, you need to understand that your turn will come. And I do not believe that many persons and many groups in society understands that. These people have a one-seat majority in the National Assembly, and we must not be afraid of them. They are using a one-seat majority to say that what they do is they are democratically elected. They are dealing democratically because the opposition participate in the activities of the Parliament, the National Assembly. They are using that one-seat majority, but we should not allow that one-seat majority to be used as a weapon against us. The opposition represents approximately half of this society. And we have to understand they represent, I do not believe that what they're doing is representing the interests of half of the society. What they are doing they are playing what we call kit and kin game. We are going to represent this group, and we're going to throw trinkets to the other group. And if you open your mouth, we're going to put our thugs on the street, our goons on the street, to really treat with you differently. These police men and women understand. As Rickford made it, whenever they finish doing all that they're asked to do, they gotta go back to the same community and live. And the faster they come to realization, it will be better for them. And they say, you know, let me make this point. A set of men and women who are supporting what is being done to the community that they come from, I can only see them as a bunch of morons. That's the way I can see them, because they don't understand that what they are doing now of denying people their fundamental rights and freedoms. And they do that. They don't understand that their children and their grandchildren will suffer when they accept treatments from this government.
Lincoln, hold for a minute. I have the opposition leader here. Let's bring him on, because he has just gotten information of what's happening at Golden Grove. Let's bring the opposition leader on. Aubrey, are you
Yes,
hearing us?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Good night. I know you were in a meeting when I called you just now and brought you up to date with what's happening at Golden Grove. I'm not going to ask you any specific question. I leave the floor open to you.
I didn't hear that.
I'm not asking you any specific question. I just leave the floor open to you to address the developments in Golden Grove today and what's happening here tonight.
First of all, David, one has to draw a parallel with Linden. One must recognize that he who is acting police commissioner did a similar thing in Linden that emboldened him with the murder of 3 Lindeners. And so one has to recognize that the People's Progressive Party has placed at the head of the police force a man who is disposed to doing their bidding. That's the first point we must make. The second point we must make is that clearly the People's Progressive Party is complicit in the murder of Bacchus. Were they not complicit in the murder of Bacchus, they would not have sent it to the complaints authority. It would have been a criminal investigation, because it is obvious that what occurred there is murder. And therefore, to the extent that they would have suggested that it should be dealt with by the police complaints authority, suggests they are creating the conditions to cover up the murder. And so one has to recognize that. The next thing that one needs to recognize is that the People's Progressive Party will seek to aggravate, irritate our support base, because as their popularity declines, they want to have an ethnic confrontation so that they can shift it away from Jack Deo and his Sioux and all the corruption and incompetence in Guyana, and shift it to a battle with the African Guyanese community. So we have got to continue to protest, but we also have got to recognize that this is an attempt to shift away from the PPP's dismal performance, from their racism, from their incompetence, and from their whole high level of corruption. And therefore, we have got to strategize and deal with them in a particular way. I also want to say this. It is interesting that Irfan Ali did not find it useful to go to Golden Grove to the family but he found it opportune to go to Monrepo to make offers while he did not for one moment consider going to Golden Grove. What you are seeing is the manifest racism of the People's Progressive Party. Guyana's problems that we are referring to now will only be solved with a change of government. The People's Progressive Party, they are in power and they know this by fraudulent votes. They know that there is a petition that will succeed because the recount revealed what has happened. And so they now want to have a situation where there is open confrontation and be able to use it to regain the support they are losing among their own supporters. Let us note that a lot of people who supported the PPP are now turning against them because as they act and as our oil resources are coming ashore, what in essence is happening, only the PPP cabal that is close to Jack Dale, only the PPP elite family and friends are benefiting. And so a lot of the people in the society, including the Indo-Guyanese community, are awakened to the fact that they are being misled and that they are not benefiting from our oil resources. It is in that context that the PPP is going to instigate all that is happening here. I would say to our people, we have to continue to challenge the PPP government. We have to continue to the protests. I am returning to Guyana shortly, and there are some things I think we need to do, which I will engage our constituency on. But the bottom line is we need to continue to protest against the People's Progressive Party. We will make some changes tactically and strategically, but all and sundry must be clear. This is an attempt by the People's Progressive Party to shift focus away from Jack Leo, Sue, and themselves, and to now bring them to be able to describe our people in a way that they shouldn't be allowed to. So I would say to you, we have to continue to struggle. I want to warn against the PPP is going to put people in that struggle to do a lot of nonsense so they can use it for their own ends. And so we will have to give leadership to ensure that this struggle is targeted. I want to say this. We're in a struggle against the People's Progressive Party, their incompetence, their racism, their dictatorship. We are not in a struggle against any ethnic group. In fact, poor Indo-Guyanese are suffering. Poor Amerindians are suffering. Poor African Guyanese are suffering. What we need to do is rally all of them against the People's Progressive Party. That is what I want to say at this time.
What do you say to the people of Golden Grove, Nabakis, and Hasdington who are being battered by pellets and, you understand, live rounds and tear gas as we speak?
Well, once you have a dictatorial regime, these things will come. We have to organize to deal with them. I hope the international community is seeing. I want to remind Jack Deo, Irfan Ali, particularly, that when we were in government, they were protesting and they were doing a lot of ignorance. And I hope the international community recognize what is happening and they will speak out on this issue. The Ghana police force cannot be allowed to kill innocent people. In fact, one of the genesis of this is the actual murder of an innocent young man. And while this might be linked to Bacchus, it is also linked to the fact that there is no justice for Boston, there is no justice for the Henry Boys, there is no justice for Harris Singh. And so the PPP must recognize that they themselves are creating the conditions for this kind of problems in our society. And so we will have to take it on. We have to begin to speak to the Guyana police force, at least those at the low level, because what is happening here is that they are being used against their own interests. They might be shooting at their family. They might be shooting at their friend. They might be shooting at their mother. And so we have to have an aggressive campaign to let these little police men who believe that they have to take on lawful instructions know that they shouldn't.
And we'll talk to you in the coming days.
Dr. Hinds, I have to run now, but I just want to say I just published and I sent to you a photograph I received from my police sources of the killer, Mr. Christophe de Nobrega, resting comfortably in a bed at the police station. I just published it on Facebook. I sent it to you. I think if you can, you should show it to your viewers. This is what they're calling this is what they're calling he's under arrest. And I've been saying it all day. He's not under arrest. He's under close arrest, which is a police procedure that doesn't allow you to leave the police location. That's it. Well, he's playing dominoes, he's playing with his friends, he's doing whatever. He has his liberty. That's not justice. That's not justice.
Rickford, we need to make the point. Close arrest is not for murder.
Murder, exactly. I said it earlier. Yes.
Departmental issues, there can be close arrest.
Unethical issues, yes.
The complaints, police complaint, could be involved in police problems, ethical problems. This is murder. It needs to be dealt with by the criminal investigation department and not the likes of the people who they put there that will not, because don't forget, the CID went to investigate Henry Boyce and they made a mess of it. And until today, we don't believe that the people who actually committed the crime are before the courts. Let us understand what they did in the Boston case. And the People's Progressive Party and the PPP, and the Ghana Police Force must recognize that people are seeing straight through them, and this is not going to end nice.
This is not going to end nice. The words there of the opposition leader, Aubrey Norton, who is overseas and was in a meeting coming out when he heard the news that they're firing on the people at Golden Grove.
Aubrey, live wrongs, Dr. Hinds. They're firing live bullets at people.
Aubrey, any closing thoughts? Any closing thoughts, Aubrey?
Oh, yes. I want to say this to you. Let us remember that in Linden and in Berbice Belladrum, they wait on the set of dark. And in the case of Linden, they murdered 3 innocent Guyanese. And in the case of Belladrum, they shot a lot of people. So as we give leadership, we should guide them so that they are not caught off up and are killed in the dark of night. So that we need to point out.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother. And I hope to talk to you in the coming hours. Lincoln Lewis, let me bring you in here. Your closing thoughts, Lincoln?
Solidarity with those people in the Golden Grove, Nabaklis, Aslington neighborhood. Solidarity.
Maureen,
I am here with you in spirit and in flesh.
Maureen, closing thoughts?
I say to the residents of Golden Grove, Nabaklis, on the East Coast, I am in solidarity with you. The PNC in solidarity with you. We are there with you in spirit and in person. And we are joining with you in saying that justice must be served. And justice we must have. Thank you.
Well, I too join in solidarity with the people. I've been in touch with people on the ground in Guyana all day. We will support you guys. Right now, as we speak, people in the diaspora are calling, making phone calls, trying to organize and mobilize to support these protesters. We will also engage our members of Congress. Tonight, we're going to send a letter out to our members of Congress and elected officials here in the United States and to the Biden administration. We know the U.S. ambassador is probably rejoicing that Black people getting shot in Guyana because she's not going to say anything. But we're going to have to put pressure on the Biden administration to rein in this despotic apartheid PPP anti-Black regime. I want to say to the people of Golden Grove, I used to live in Golden Grove. I got family in Golden Grove. I have my very close relatives in Golden Grove. That if the police attacks you, defend yourself. There could be no justification for what Kidaki just said and what I am receiving from police officers. And the fact that I can get a photograph of a man in a police station tells you that I have my police sources that are reliable. And the police have been said to me that the government has instructed them to shoot to kill, use live rounds. That is shoot to kill as far as I'm concerned. And I want to warn the police that people have a right to defend themselves. And when people get desperate, they will use all sorts of means to defend themselves. And they must, and even if they receive unlawful instructions, they must not commit abuses of people. They must not abuse people. They must not brutalize people. And as the opposition leader said, they're shooting their brothers and sisters and their mothers and their daughters. And they're going to push people to the brink. And I want the people of Ghana to hear my voice. I live in a society where I've seen when you push people to the brink, you exacerbate tensions, you exacerbate conditions on the ground. And there might be no return when those people unleash. Because of the inciting. So I want to congratulate the people who are standing up for justice. We are with you.
Thank you very much, Rickford. And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, just remember, audience tonight, we've had the largest audience ever for this show. We've been on air now for over a year. We had close to, we had 2,934 people live, so almost 3,000 people live. It shows the interest of our people. We want you to continue to support the program. I want to thank all our guests tonight. And I want to say, to echo what everyone has said, that this is open war by the government and the police. And I say no more. I say no more. I've been around this thing for decades. And those people have a right to mourn because you killed their son. And you answer them with tear gas and bullets. I say no more. I say no more. I say no more. Let the poet speak for me. If we must die, then let it not be like hogs, hunted and penned in an inglorious spot. If we must die, let us nobly die, as even the monsters we now defy shall be constrained to honor us though dead. Let us fight back, even when our backs are to the wall, dying. Let's fight back. Let's fight back. I want to say that I, as an activist in the WPA, for which I belong, we give you our full support and solidarity. This confounded nonsense, as Sidney King said in 1953, this confounded nonsense must stop, and it must stop now. Good night, and I see you all in the morning on Kinaki, and tomorrow night we're going to be here, because we're not backing down. We're not backing down. We're open war, and we have no option left. We are unarmed. We don't have the power of the police force. All we have is our bodies. Innocent people sitting on their own streets, in their own village that their ancestors fought. And you go there and you shoot them. Good night.